The digital landscape is currently witnessing a tectonic shift as the barriers of traditional cybersecurity crumble under the weight of advanced artificial intelligence. At the heart of this transformation lies Anthropic, an AI safety-focused lab that has long been regarded as the moral compass of the industry. Their latest development, the Mythos Framework, is not merely an incremental update, but a fundamental reimagining of how digital systems defend themselves. For years, cybersecurity was a game of cat and mouse played primarily by humans, but the emergence of high-capability language models has fundamentally altered the rules of engagement. As AI tools move away from simple content generation and toward autonomous system interaction, the stakes have never been higher for global infrastructure. Anthropic's mission has always been rooted in safety, yet the Mythos framework marks a decisive turn from theoretical research to active real-time defense. This shift is occurring as private enterprises and government sectors realize that the offensive capabilities of malicious actors are evolving faster than human-led defenses can react. The core objective of Mythos is to bridge the critical vulnerability gap created by AI-powered offensive tools. By introducing a new standard for defensive AI, Anthropic aims to provide a shield that is as dynamic and intelligent as the weapons it intends to parry. To understand why Mythos is so revolutionary, one must look at the evolution of Anthropic's core philosophy, constitutional AI. This approach, which involves training models to adhere to a specific set of internal guiding principles, is now being applied directly to the complex field of threat detection. Instead of relying on rigid, predefined rules, the AI uses a refined internal logic to identify malicious intent and anomalous behavior. This represents a significant transition from manual red teaming, where human researchers simulate attacks to find weaknesses, to a state of automated resilience. In this new paradigm, the system does not just wait for a human analyst to find a bug, it proactively hardens its own architecture against potential exploits in real time. Historically, the relationship between large language models and security has been fraught with risk. Early iterations of generative AI were often co-opted by malicious actors to produce sophisticated phishing scripts or to generate malicious code that could bypass basic filters. These early exploits demonstrated how the sheer speed and scale of AI could be weaponized to overwhelm traditional security teams. The result was an escalating arms race where the cybersecurity industry found itself consistently lagging behind the rapid evolution of generative models. Traditional defenses, such as firewalls and static analysis, are designed to catch known patterns and signatures. However, AI-driven attacks are characterized by their novelty and their ability to mutate, rendering static defenses nearly obsolete in the face of an adversary. Within this chaotic environment, Mythos emerges as a powerful stabilizing force. Within the Anthropic ecosystem, the concept of mythos represents a strategic convergence of high-level model capability and security protocols. It is more than just a single model. It is a policy shift that dictates how AI interacts with sensitive digital environments. By moving beyond the limitations of simple pattern matching, Mythos leverages the profound reasoning capabilities of advanced models to understand the underlying context of a digital interaction. It asks not just what a piece of code is, but what that code intends to do. The urgency for such a robust framework cannot be overstated. As the digital world becomes increasingly interconnected, a single vulnerability in a core infrastructure component can have cascading effects across the globe. Anthropic's approach recognizes that in the age of generative models, security cannot be an afterthought as it must be baked into the intelligence of the system itself. This transition marks the beginning of a reckoning, as where the industry must choose between continued vulnerability or the adoption of autonomous AI-driven defense mechanisms. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The era of static defense is ending, and the rise of the Mythos framework is the step toward a resilient future. The true power of Mythos reveals itself in its ability to navigate the labyrinthine complexities of modern software to identify zero-day vulnerabilities. These flaws represent the most dangerous tools in the arsenal of malicious actors. While human security researchers might spend weeks auditing millions of lines of code, the Mythos framework operates at a scale and velocity that defies traditional benchmarks. It does not merely scan for signatures of known exploits. It utilizes deep reasoning to simulate how an adversary might manipulate a system's logic. By analyzing software architecture, the framework can pinpoint obscure logic flaws that static analysis tools often overlook. This speed to discovery is a critical component in the modern arms race, as it allows defensive systems to close doors before attackers even realize they are open. Industry data on the integration of these tools indicates a drastic reduction in the time required to patch vulnerabilities. Where traditional enterprise response times often stretch into days, integrated systems using Anthropic's technology have demonstrated the ability to generate patches in a matter of hours. However, this leap in efficiency is met with measured skepticism. While many acknowledge the advantage, and others warn that relying on AI creates a sophisticated surface for attack. There is a persistent concern that if the defensive AI itself possesses a flaw, the entire security perimeter could crumble. Despite these fears, the comparative statistics remain compelling, showing a marked decline in successful breaches within environments where Mythos-level reasoning is actively deployed. This leads to the inherent paradox of the safety filter. Anthropic must navigate a treacherous middle ground, providing powerful tools that can harden infrastructure while ensuring those same capabilities do not become a superweapon for malicious actors. If a model is capable of identifying a vulnerability to fix it, it is theoretically capable of identifying that same vulnerability to exploit it. To mitigate this risk, an Anthropic implements rigorous output constraints and monitoring. The goal is to create a system that can understand the why of a security flaw without providing a roadmap for its destruction. This delicate balance is central to the lab's identity, separating it from competitors who prioritize raw capability over controlled deployment. The broader industry remains divided on this approach. Proponents of open source models, such as those from Meta, argue that transparency is the best defense, allowing the global community to identify and fix flaws collectively. Conversely, Anthropic maintains a guarded, closed source stance, arguing that releasing high capability security models into the wild provides an asymmetric advantage to well funded malicious actors. This philosophical divide highlights the tension between open technology and the necessity of containment in an age of automated warfare. Furthermore, the specter of model collapse and hallucinations haunts the integration of AI into mission-critical security. If an AI hallucinates a vulnerability, or conversely, incorrectly classifies a malicious script as safe, the consequences can be catastrophic. Relying solely on a black box model creates a single point of failure that could be exploited through adversarial prompts. This risk is why Anthropic heavily emphasizes the role of human-in-the-loop oversight. Even as the AI moves toward writing and fixing its own code autonomously, the presence of human experts remains a non-negotiable safeguard. These researchers act as final arbiters. I'm verifying the logic and ensuring that automated resilience does not introduce new instabilities. In performance evaluations like Cyberbench and various high-level capture the flag competitions, the Mythos framework has consistently outperformed traditional automated tools. It demonstrates a unique ability to adapt to novel threats that do not exist in its training data, suggesting a level of conceptual understanding that transcends simple pattern matching. Yet, the ethical implications of AI that can autonomously rewrite its own security protocols remain a subject of intense debate. As the framework integrates with cloud providers like AWS and Google Cloud, the pressure to perfect this balance increases. The industry is watching closely, aware that the success or failure of this approach will determine the future of digital sovereignty. The transition towards self-healing networks is underway, but the road is paved with complex questions about trust and the role of human intelligence in a world governed by silicon minds. The arrival of the Mythos framework signals more than a technological upgrade. It marks a profound upheaval in the human fabric of the cybersecurity industry. As Anthropic pushes the boundaries of automated resilience, the job market for security professionals faces an unprecedented transformation. Entry-level analysts, who once spent days manually triaging alerts and scanning logs for known signatures, now find their roles redefined or superseded. This automation does not mean the end of the human expert, but it mandates a shift in skill sets. The new guard must become masters of AI oversight, or acting as the critical human in the loop that Anthropic insists upon. They are no longer soldiers on the front lines. They are commanders of an intelligent arsenal responsible for auditing the logic and ethical boundaries of the systems they deploy. This empowerment comes with higher stakes, as the complexity of the tools requires a deeper understanding of both digital software architecture and AI behavior. Parallel to this labor shift is a growing crisis in corporate liability and legal frameworks. When a breach occurs despite Mythos-level defense, the question of accountability becomes a legal quagmire. If an autonomous system fails to detect an exploit or makes a decision that leads to data loss, where does the blame lie? Is it the responsibility of Anthropic for a potential model flaw, the cloud provider for a failure in integration, or the enterprise for over-relying on automation? Current laws are ill-equipped to handle the nuances of AI failure, forcing a radical recalibration of the entire insurance industry. The cost of implementing advanced security frameworks is significant, but the cost of traditional insurance premiums for legacy systems is skyrocketing. This transition suggests that corporations are being forced into a reckoning where the investment in AI-driven defense is no longer optional, but a prerequisite for financial viability and legal protection. On the global stage, powerful defensive capabilities have intensified the geopolitical rivalry between the United States and China. Both nations recognize that digital sovereignty in the modern era is inextricably linked to AI dominance. The US-China rivalry is no longer just about build speeds. It is specifically about protecting critical infrastructure from offensive tools. If Anthropic's framework creates a defense-dominant world, it could neutralize advantages held by state-sponsored malicious actors. This makes the technology a strategic asset. The potential for the framework to make criminal hacking too expensive or difficult to be viable could drastically alter the landscape of international espionage, pushing conflict into sophisticated AI-managed domains. The future roadmap involves deep integration into the world's most significant cloud infrastructure. Partnerships with providers like AWS and Google Cloud weave these defensive protocols into the very fabric of the global internet. This integration is the first step towards self-healing networks, where in this vision, a system does not just sound an alarm, it detects the intrusion, contains the threat, and repairs the underlying vulnerability in milliseconds before a human could even open a terminal. This level of autonomy transforms cybersecurity from a reactive discipline into a proactive, self-sustaining ecosystem. However, such power invites regulatory intervention. Governments are already considering mandating Mythos-like safety standards for all frontier models, ensuring that any AI with the capability to impact infrastructure is built upon a foundation of constitutional safety. We are witnessing a shift where cybersecurity is being absorbed into the broader pillar of AI governance. It is no longer a separate department, but the central nervous system of every organization. Anthropic's approach is setting the pace for this entire industry, forcing a reckoning that was overdue. While the dynamic cat-and-mouse game between defenders and malicious actors will never end, the introduction of high-reasoning frameworks like Mythos provides a crucial advantage. The reckoning is inevitable because the manual defense is too slow for a world moving at the speed of light. Whether Mythos represents a victory or just the latest chapter in an eternal struggle, it has changed the fundamental rules of the game. The digital world is entering an era of automated resilience, and there is no turning back.